everybody. Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, March the 31st, 2020. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I hope you enjoyed the videos that you watched yesterday. And today we are going to continue in math talking about time, okay? Now, obviously you can look around and see that I am not in the classroom today. I'm at my house. So I am teaching from home today. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is, like I said, we're going to continue talking about time. We're going to practice writing time, okay? So in this lesson today, what you're going to do is we are going to determine which of two activities takes more or less time to complete. So depending on what you're doing, how long is that going to take? Is it going to take more time or less time, okay? Now, like I said yesterday, in yesterday's video, a lot of this is review from things we've already talked about, okay? So anyways, what we're gonna do today, like I said, is we're gonna talk about two activities, which one takes more or less. So we're gonna compare the two. Are you ready? So what you'll need for today is you'll need your work text, page 243 and 244. At the top of that worksheet, it says write time, okay? That's for the worksheet for today, right time, page 243 and 244. So obviously you'll need your pencil and you'll need, again, your little Judy clock, okay? I've got my big one right here, okay? So get out your small one, okay? And we're going to go over some more time and practice showing time on our clocks today, okay? So make sure you have this out, make sure you have your worksheet and your pencil ready to go, okay? All right, now let's start by discussing different activities and if it would take more or less time. Now, I want you to think about your jobs that you do at home. Now, all of you have been home for going on 2 weeks now, so think about all the things that you are doing at home. I hope you're helping your parents out. I hope you're doing some chores and doing some jobs at home. So think about the things that you could do to make home a little easier. Let's see, well, you can make your bed. Right? You get up in the morning, when you get ready, you make your bed up, clean up your toys, pick up your toys, make sure your room's clean. You can help with the dishes. Do y'all help with the dishes? You can sweep the floor, take care of your pets, make sure you feed your dog or your cat or your fish or whatever you have. And so those are some easy chores that we can do, right? Take out the trash, maybe. So I want you to think about how Jesus wants us to do these chores, okay? Think about that attitude behind what we do. Now remember, we've talked about this in chapel before about how it is important to obey. Yes, it's definitely important to obey, but even more important than our obedience is our attitude behind our obedience, okay? Because if you get all huffy and puffy, oh, well, I gotta do this again, right? That's not a good attitude. So we need to make sure that we do it with a cheerful heart and that we're doing it because we want to help out, okay? And that, I believe, is how Jesus wants us to do our chores. Do our very best in all that we do, right? Do your best and leave the rest with God, right? And so when we do that, when we give Him our very best and we do it with a cheerful heart and we have a good attitude, the Lord's going to bless that. And you know what? It's going to make us feel good. And it does, doesn't it? It feels good when we do something that's nice and our parents are happy and we know that Jesus is happy. It makes our heart smile. And so that's how God wants us to live each and every day. Now, would your mom and dad be pleased with you if you did extra jobs sometimes? What if you did something and they didn't even have to ask you? Think about that. What if you went to throw away your plate and you saw that the trash can was full and without even asking, you went ahead and took that trash bag out and you tied it up and you put it to the side and you got it ready to take out? Okay, what if your mom and dad walked into your room and you were making your bed and they didn't even have to tell you? They didn't have to tell you to clean your room. You were just doing it because you knew it needed to be done. Don't you think that would please your mom and dad? Sure it would. I'm sure it would. Now, let's think about some other extra jobs that you could do to surprise your mom and dad. Outside of your typical normal chores, what are some extra things that you could do around the house during this time to help your mom and dad? Well, maybe if you don't already take the trash out, maybe you could take the trash out. Maybe you could dust, or if you have plants, you could water the plants. Or if you don't already feed your animals, maybe you could ask to see if you could feed the animals and make sure it's okay with them first. But maybe you could do something like that, or help set the table for dinner. Or there's countless chores and countless jobs and countless things that you could do to help out, okay? But thinking about these chores, let's think about the amount of time that we would spend doing each of these chores, okay? Or doing these things. So let's compare two different chores. Let's say we're going to take out the trash and wash the windows. Okay, there's our first two activities, taking out the trash and washing the windows. Now, I want to ask you this. Which of those two activities would take more time? More time, which means it would take longer to get done. Would it take longer to take out the trash? Or would it take longer or more time to wash the windows? Now you answer that out loud wherever you are right now. Taking out the trash or washing the windows. Now, obviously, it's going to take more time to wash the windows, right? Especially the more windows you have in your house, the more it's going to take to wash them, right? But taking out the trash is probably going to take maybe just a minute or two. Okay, so with those two activities, obviously the one that would take more time would be washing the windows. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Let's compare two more activities. What about washing the dishes or setting the table? Think about this. Washing the dishes or setting the table. Which one of these would take more time to get done? Let's see. If you wash the dishes, you may have a whole full sink full, right? Or if you're setting the table, depending on your family, I guess this kind of depends on you. If you have a bigger family, it may take longer to wash the dishes, or it may take longer to set the table. But I believe that with these two activities, probably the one that's going to take a little bit more time than the other is probably going to be washing the dishes, right? Because you've got to make sure you get all that clean, and then you got to rinse them, and you have to dry them off, and you have to set them out and let them dry. But setting the table, you set your plate and your fork and your napkin and your cup, and then you're pretty much done, right? So probably for most people in this case would probably be washing the dishes. Do you agree? All right, let's move on to the next one. What about taking cookies to a neighbor or bringing in the mail? Which one would take more time? Okay, well, let's think about it. If you're taking cookies to the neighbor, well, number one, you probably have to bake the cookies, right, first, okay? So you'll bake the cookies, so it takes time to do that, and then you've got to take them over to your neighbor, or you got to prepare them in a dish and then take them to your neighbor. But going and getting the mail, you just run out to the mailbox and come right back in and you're done. So obviously with those two activities, taking cookies to a neighbor, don't you agree, probably would be more time taking cookies to a neighbor, okay? And then the last one of this one would think about reading a book or watering a plant. Reading a book or watering a plant. Which one would take more? Which one would take more time? Reading a book or watering a plant? Reading a book, right? Because watering a plant, you just have to go get your water pot and your water and pour it in the plant and you're done. But reading a book is going to take a little bit more time than watering a plant. So reading a book is the correct answer in that scenario, okay? So those are different activities that we compared to see which one would take more time. So now let's think about things that would take less time, or it wouldn't take as long to get done, okay? Less time. Let's compare two activities, eating supper or making popcorn. Eating supper or making popcorn. Which one would take less time? Okay, well, let's think about eating supper. Well, usually that takes a little bit of time, but making microwave popcorn, you just pop in the microwave, hit the popcorn button, and it's about, what, a minute or two, and it's done. And I don't think any of us can eat supper or a whole supper in about 1 or 2 minutes. So obviously in this one, which one would take less time would be making popcorn, okay? Making popcorn. Now, what about writing a story or writing your name? Which one would take less time? Writing down your name or writing a whole story? Obviously, y'all are super smart. Obviously, it would be writing your name. Would not take near as much time as writing a whole story, especially depending on how long your story is. So with that one, which one would take less time would be writing your name, okay? And then the last one, putting on a Band-Aid or going to the doctor. Which would take less time? Put a Band-Aid on or go to the doctor? Yes, putting a Band-Aid on would be the correct choice there. So of all of those, we can compare which takes more time and which takes less time, okay? Now, here is when I want you to get out your Judy clock, okay? So get that out, get that ready. And I've got, like I said, I've got mine here, and I have it set for 3 o'clock, okay? I have it set for 3 o'clock here, and I want you to go ahead and set yours for 3 o'clock, okay? Now, remember, like we talked about this a lot yesterday, the shorthand is the hour hand, the longhand is the minute hand. So if we're gonna show 3 o'clock correctly on our clocks, then you need to have your hour hand pointing to the 3 and your minute hand pointing to the 12, okay? So the long hand is the minute hand, that should be pointing to the 12. The short hand is the hour hand, that should be pointing to the 3 to show 3 o'clock, okay? Now, I want you to pay attention to the tick marks that are on this clock. Can you see that clearly? See the little tick marks on each one of these? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way, it goes all the way around from 5 all the way around back up to, you can see, 60, okay? Now, each of these tick marks represent 1 minute on the clock, okay? Each of these little tick marks. So with this minute hand was gonna tick to the here, that's a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4, 5 minutes, okay? And it goes all the way around. And as this minute hand travels around the clock, can you see that? As it's traveling, the minutes are ticking by, okay? And it's gonna go all the way back around, okay? Now, do you know how many minutes are in 1 hour? You should. 60 minutes is in 1 hour, okay? So by the time it takes for this minute hand to travel around the clock 1 whole time, 60 minutes has passed. 60 minutes or 1 hour. I want you to notice what happened to this hour hand as I move that minute hand around the clock. What happened to it? Notice that it went from the 3 down to the 4, okay? So that means that 1 hour has passed. It went from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. By the time this minute hand went around the clock 1 time, 1 hour or 60 minutes has passed by, okay? Now, which one of these do you think is longer? 1 minute or 1 hour? Which is longer? I think y'all all know the answer to this. Obviously, 1 hour is longer than 1 minute, okay? Because it takes 60 minutes to equal 1 hour. Now, I want you to think about some things that you would do that would take about a minute, okay? Let's use an example of washing your hands, okay? Which is very, very important right now. So think about washing your hands and how long that would take. Would that be closer to 1 minute or closer to 1 hour? I think it would be safe to say that it's closer to 1 minute of washing your hands and not an hour. You're not going to stand at the sink for a whole hour and wash your hands, right? So the best choice there would be 1 minute. It takes about 1 minute to wash your hands, okay? Now, let's think of some other things that would take about a minute, okay? Maybe putting on your shoes and tying your shoes, or putting on your coat, buttoning up your coat, or brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth for a minute, okay? Now, would it take about 1 minute or about 1 hour to go shopping? Let's say you're going to the grocery store, okay? And you are going to get groceries. Would that take about a minute to do, or would that take about 1 hour to do? It's going to take closer to about an hour to go grocery shopping. Because why would it take about an hour? Well, think about this. First of all, you have to get ready. You have to get in the car. Then you have to drive to the store. So, of course, depending on how far away from the store you live, that's going to take some time. And then when you get to the store, you have to get your buggy. You have to get all your groceries and do all your shopping. And then you have to check out at the register and pay the cashier. And then you get your bag groceries and you take them back into your car, put them in your car, and then you have to drive back home. And I don't care if you're super, super speedy, you can't get all of that done in a minute, right? So that's why it would take closer to an hour to go grocery shopping, okay? Let's think about some other activities that might take about an hour. What about going to church? A church service, a typical church service is usually about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, but that's definitely closer to an hour than 1 minute, right? So definitely a church service would take about an hour. If you went to the library and you were looking at books and checking out books, that would take closer to an hour. Maybe going outside to play, you would probably want to stay out there for more than just a minute, right? Especially now, it's been beautiful weather outside. It's been sunny and nice, except allergies. I've been sneezing like crazy. But with all of that being said, it would probably take about an hour to go play outside, okay? And I hope you are enjoying this beautiful warm weather that we've been having. But let's move on and let's talk about telling time to the hour, okay? Now, yesterday I talked about this, about how important it is to notice where the hour hand, what number that hour hand is pointing to. This is pointing to the hour, okay? So look at my clock here. My clock is set. And I want you to tell me what hour I'm showing on my clock. What hour am I showing on my clock? 4 o'clock, right? I'm showing the 4 o'clock hour. Well, you say, Miss Ashley, how do you know that's the 4 o'clock hour? Because I can see clearly that my hour hand is pointing to the 4. My minute hand is good and set on the 12. So that's how I can know that I am pointing to the 4 o'clock hour, okay? I'm going to show you some more times here. Let's see, let's do this one. Ha-ha. What about that? Now what hour am I showing? The 8 o'clock hour. Very good, okay? So how do I know that? Well, because my minute hand, of course, is set to the 12. But notice again, where is my hour hand pointing to? The 8. Okay, so that will show us what hour we're dealing with, okay? Now, I have here a digital clock. We mentioned this yesterday, and I wrote some things on the whiteboard yesterday showing a digital time, but I have my iPad here, and if you can see, let's see, if you can see this, I have here a digital clock, okay? Now, I want you to notice how different these numbers are from the typical normal way we would write our numbers. Now, we've discussed this in class before, okay? Now, currently, it is showing 3:29 p.m., okay? So as I'm doing this video, it is 3:29 p.m. But I want you to notice that 3. You see that digital 3 there? It's not that curvy 3 like we're used to writing, is it? Why is it different? Look at that 2. Why is that 2 different and that 9? Why are those numbers different? Because these are digital numbers, okay? Digital. So I want you to notice the flashing colon in between the 3 and the 2. See that? It represents our seconds, okay? And remember, we have 60 seconds in 1 minute, right? So by the time that colon flashes 60 times, it's going to switch over here probably in just a few seconds to the 30, and it's going to show 3:30, okay? So as this is clicking, oh, there it went, okay? So there we go. We're showing exactly 3:30 on our clock now, okay? So as that colon flashes, that represents our seconds, okay? And that also separates our hour, the 3, from our minutes, okay? So right now it's showing 3:30, but if we were going to show the word o'clock, does anybody remember how we represent that in number form? How do we show a clock to the hour in number form? Does anybody remember? I'm gonna write it on the board here. Okay, here we go. Okay, we have our 3. There's our colon. Can you see that good? See it a little bit better now. There's our 3, colon, 0, 0. So what does this say? 3 o'clock. Okay, 3 o'clock. Now, how could I represent that again on our Judy clock? Okay, let me get this number back over here to the 3. Okay, there we go. All right, so here's the analog way. Remember, analog is when you have the 2 hands on the clock, okay? And here is the digital way, right? Analog, digital. Okay, 3 o'clock. Right? I want you to get your Judy clock out, and I want you to show 6 o'clock on your clock, okay? So you do it as I'm doing it, all right? Your hands to show 6 o'clock. Now with this, remember you're going to have your hour hand pointing to the 6. You'll have your minute hand pointing to the 12, okay? So go ahead and do that now, please. And I'm going to show it in digital form here on my board. Showing 6 o'clock. Okay, so here's the analog way. This is what your clock should look like. Okay, so if it's not set correctly, you can go ahead and fix it now while you're looking at mine. Set your clock for 6 o'clock. And this is the digital way. Okay, this is 6 colon o'clock. 6 o'clock. Okay. All right, let's do another time. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just simply write down on the board a time. And what I want you to do is show on your clock, your analog clock, your little Judy clock, what time I am showing. Okay, so here's your time. So what I want you to do now is show on your little Judy clock this time. Okay, so can anybody tell me what time this shows? 7 o'clock. All right, 7 o'clock. So what your clock should look like is this right here. You have your hour hand on the 7, your minute hand on the 12. This is what your clock should look like. 7 o'clock, okay? All right, great. Let's do that again. Let's do another one. Y'all are doing super, super, super duper good. So proud of you guys. Let's see. Let's see if I can make that a little bit neater. I got these little skinny markers today, and I'm not used to writing with these. Okay, that's a little bit better. Don't laugh at me. Okay, what time is it now? Set your clock to show this time. Your little Judy clock, set your clock to show this time here. Okay? Well, can anybody tell me what time it says now? 8 o'clock. Very good. 8 o'clock. And your clock, your little Judy clock, should look like this. You got your hour hand on the 8. Got your minute hand on the 12. Should show 8 o'clock. Very, very good. All right, now it is time to get your worksheet out. We are going to get started on the worksheet, okay? So go ahead and get that out and get your pencil out, okay? And write your name at the top of your worksheet, please. Go ahead and do that now. While we're waiting, go ahead and write your name and we'll get started here in just a second on the worksheet, okay? Once again, it should say write time at the top. which is page 243 and 244. This is lesson 122. Man, you guys, we have done 122 math lessons this year. Y'all, no wonder you're super smart. You've had 122 math lessons. That's awesome, okay? So go ahead and be writing your name, and then we will get started on this worksheet, and we'll get finished with math for the day, okay? All right, so obviously you can see here from this worksheet that we are going to be writing time, okay? And we have been doing that with the board and you fixing your clock compared to mine. So let's look at the first clock together, okay? I want you to put your finger on the very first clock here, and I want you to notice what time it says, okay? I want you to notice where the long hand is, and not only where the long hand is, but I want you to notice where the short hand is pointing. Now remember, where that short hand is pointing is going to show us what hour it is, okay? The time to the hour, that's what we're talking about, okay? We haven't really done much with our minute hand. Our minute hand's just been sitting on the 12, but we certainly have moved that hour hand around the clock, okay? So looking at the first one here together, okay? Notice that I've got my Judy clock set to the same time, okay? What number is that shorthand pointing to? The 4, okay? You can see that on your paper, and you can also see that here on my Judy clock. That shorthand is pointing to the 4, and the long hand, the minute hand, is pointing to the 12, okay? So what time does that tell us that it is? 4 o'clock. Very good, 4 o'clock. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go ahead down below that clock and write the time that it is, okay? Write the time. So first of all, we know that that number on the left-hand side of the colon is going to be your hour, and we know that the hour for this clock is 4 o'clock. So the number that you're going to write there is a 4, okay? The number you're going to write there is a 4. And how do we represent, again, you should know this, how do we represent o'clock in number 4? Should look like this, 4:0, 0. Okay, so we have our colon here in the middle, we've got our hour on the left-hand side, and then we have the 0 on the right-hand side. That represents our minutes, okay, our o'clock, okay? So it should look like this. Since it is 4 o'clock, we can represent that by 4:0, 0. All right? Now let's look at the one out beside it. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do that one. Look at the one out beside it. I want you to go ahead and try to do this one by yourself, okay? Try to do this one by yourself. Look at where the short hand is pointing, and then look at where the minute hand is pointing. Of course, the minute hand is not moved on any of these. They are all on the 12, but that hour hand has certainly changed, okay? So pay attention to where that hour hand is pointing, and that'll give you the first number on the left-hand side of the colon, and then we know how to represent o'clock. Okay, so go ahead and do that one now. Okay, this should be your answer. Did you all get it right? We have 7 o'clock, right? Isn't that what the time is showing? 7 o'clock? Yes. Okay. So 7 o'clock is the correct time. 7:0, 0. Okay. Very, very good. Now, in just a few minutes after this video, I want you guys to go back and I want you to do the next 2 clocks by yourself, okay? Show me what hour, what time it is. I want you to look at that clock and write the time in digital form underneath. So we'll skip over these next two clocks and we're going to go down to the bottom of the page now. So remember, after you get done with this video, I want you to go back and do those two by yourself, okay? All right, so let's go down, let's skip the next two, and let's go down to the very bottom of the page where we see two different pictures of Farmer Brown, okay? The directions say, circle the activity that takes less time. Now remember, at the beginning of this lesson, we talked about that, the different activities that take more or less time. So let's talk about these two pictures and what we see in these pictures, okay? Let's look at the first one with Farmer Brown on his tractor, okay? Looks like he is plowing the garden or plowing the fields, getting ready to plant some things, okay? And he is hot and sweaty, so it looks like if he's already sweating and rubbing his brow, he's probably been out there for a long time, right? So he is working out in his fields. He is sweaty and he's been working hard that day. Now let's go on to look over at the next one. What's he doing now? Looks like he's taking a break and eating some lunch. What has he got there? A sandwich and an apple. Sounds delicious. So he is sitting under a shade tree. He's cooled off. He looks happy. He's smiling and he is eating his sandwich. So of these two different activities that Farmer Brown is participating in, which one of these activities that you think would take less time? What I want you to do is circle the activity that would take less time to do. Would it take less time to plow the field? Or would it take less time to eat lunch? You decide which one and you circle the one that would take less time. Okay? All right, very good. Let's flip over to the back of the page now. Okay? I'm going to give you the directions for the back of the page and then we're going to go down and I'm going to show you one example on the bottom of the page before I let you go and let you finish this out on your own, okay? So on the back, at the very top, the directions say this: draw a line to match the digital clock to the analog clock that shows the same time, okay? Which is pretty much what we've been doing this entire lesson, is comparing the digital time to the analog time, okay? So with that being said, I want you to look at each of these clocks, decide what time it says. Remember, the 00 on the digital means o'clock, and the same thing for the analog with that minute hand being on the 12, that also means o'clock, okay? So what you'll do after this video is you're going to match the digital clocks to the analog clocks to show the same time, okay? All right. Now let's skip down to the bottom. I'm going to show you one example of this on the back, okay? Show you one example and then I will let you go and I will let you finish this out on your own. Like I said, y'all are super smart and I know that you will have any trouble with this. This is a time to review at the very bottom. See the picture of cheddar? That's what we're going to talk about now. Time to review. I want you, what it says here, it says draw the correct number of shapes in the 10 frame. We have done this plenty, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to do the first one together. So I'm going to show you how to do it, and then I'm going to let you do the next two by yourself, okay? All right, so let's look at the first one together. Once again, the directions say this: draw the correct number of shapes in the 10 frames, okay? So the first one is asking us to draw 10 circles. So I have here my 10 frame, that's empty right now, and it says 10 circles. It's wanting us to draw the correct number of shapes in the 10 frame. Now remember, when you are drawing shapes in the 10 frame, you need to start here at the bottom on the left-hand side, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start here at the bottom and we're gonna draw our circles. There we go, draw our circles, okay? So we're gonna draw up and we're gonna fill up, then we'll start back down here, okay? So we have one circle so far, so we're gonna draw, how many circles does it say? 10. 10 circles, okay? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Some of those are little crooked circles, but that's okay. So now you can see what's happened to my 10 frame. I filled it up, didn't I? I filled it up. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. 5 plus 5 equals 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So we have 10 circles represented in our 10 frames. Okay. So that's how I want you to do it. Remember, just start here at the bottom and work your way up, and then go back down here and start, and then work your way up again. Okay. The next one is asking you to draw 5 triangles. 5 triangles. So you'll draw 5 triangles in the boxes, or 1 in each box to represent 5 triangles. Fill in your 10 frame. And then the next one is asking you to draw 7 rectangles. So the 2 that you're going to do by yourself is 5 triangles and 7, and the next one is 7 rectangles, okay? So at this time, I want you to flip your worksheet back over to the front and finish those 2 clocks that we didn't do, that we skipped over. Write the time, okay? And then when you're done with that, I want you to go back to the back. I want you to do the matching for the digital and the analog clocks, and then finish out your 2 10 frames at the bottom, okay? And then when you are all finished with that, you are finished with math for today, for Tuesday, okay? So just have your mom or dad send me a picture of it to the group text like they've been doing, and like same as yesterday, I'll grade it, I'll put it in the grade book, and then you can do with your worksheet however you wish to, whatever you want to do with it after that, okay? If you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, once again, don't hesitate, have your mom or dad text me. But I love you, Callista, Nathaniel, and Jackson, and Caleb, and I miss you guys, and I can't wait to see you again, and I hope you have a great day, and I will see you back here tomorrow for Wednesday's math lesson, okay? Love you guys. Have a great day.